In this video, we're going to be looking at chart types that show composition. So remember, composition is how a numeric variable's values are broken down by a categorical variable. So things like GDP by region, for instance. In fact, or population by region. Let's do that case. So we're going to drag. So remember, we have pie charts, old school. We have tree maps, which are kind of like modern pie charts, a little bit more common. We have stacked bar charts of various flavors. So we're gonna, and then area charts, which are kind of like cousins. So let's go through those things in order, starting with pie charts. So let's do total population, population total, and we're gonna drag this to size right off the bat. So notice it's kind of boring to begin with, as you might imagine. And we just have one dot. It's representing the whole world. We're gonna drag region onto color. And it automatically gives us a tree map. It automatically gives us a tree map. So this is kind of Tableau guiding you away from a pie chart because tree maps are more modern, more used. If we want to go back to pie charts, we go to Show Me, and then we select pie. This is too small. It's just too small. I can't see anything. So you press Control Shift B on Windows or Command Shift B on Mac to crank this thing up. So that's much more reasonable. This is all good, and you might want to do something like put as a label the thing. It's the region itself. Sorry, and we want to sort this thing. So how would we do this? So we want to sort region by, we'll do our field, and we'll be doing by our population total. We'll do descending. So again, this is an important step. I know it might seem silly, and so let me actually go back and do it again. When we have this here, things are sorted in order of just alphabetical occurrence in the data set. This is not super helpful because it's hard enough to tell which of these slices is bigger than another when they're unordered. Or I'm sorry, it's difficult to tell which slices are bigger than another. So one way to fix this is to order them. So again, we want to take region, we want to sort region, and we don't want to sort it by the data source order. We want to sort it by a field, and that field is population total. And you can do either ascending or descending. I like descending because I typically go mentally, I go clockwise around, and so from biggest to smallest like this. So now, just by the way it's done, I know that Asia has the biggest population, Africa has the next biggest population, the Americas, and whatever. And this is much more useful than the alternative. So if we wanted to do a tree map, again, it's exactly the same thing. We'll do total population by size, region by color, just as we did before, and as we saw before, we get the tree map right off the bat. The nice part about tree maps that's much more difficult to do than in pie charts is to make things more detailed. So for instance, I can say country region and then a country region to detail. This breaks things up, and then actually I can do country region onto label. And in fact, if I do that, I don't need region on label anymore. And so we have something much more detailed. And notice it's smart enough to like, this is kind of dumb actually, Sri Lanka, it shouldn't just put Sri, but for most of these, it puts the label if it can, but it doesn't if it can't. And the reason this is interesting is because you end up labeling just the countries or just the tiles in the tree map that are the most important. So this is really cool. One other thing that I'll point out that's really great is if I drag year to pages, for instance, and animate this thing, then the size of the overall economy is indicated by the size of the overall tile, like the whole thing. And so we can see the economy growing, the world economy growing and shrinking, and then also see how the proportion of global economy accounted for by each region and each country changes as well. So tree maps are powerful in a way that pie charts are not. Pie charts still have their place, and we'll talk several like little locations over the course of the semester where they're the right choice. But tree maps are a really compelling alternative in a lot of situations. I do want to get those in our wheelhouse. So let's make our bar chart. So we're going to take year here, and we'll drag those two columns. And then we're going to drag GDP onto rows. And then we're going to change this thing to, oh, actually, let's just do region to color real quick. And this is the line chart that we had earlier, but we could also ask ask Tableau to give us a stacked bar chart like this by going to show me and then stacked bars. You could also, and I think this will work, instead of saying automatic, say bar instead, and it'll give you the same thing. But here again, we have a bar chart that is showing us over the course of all these years, how is the economy growing, and then what percentage, not which percentage, what proportion is each region accounting for within each one of these bars. So here, again, you're trying to show that the economy's, the overall GDP is changing over the course of the years. That's the overall growth. But then you're also trying to show how the breakdown changes. If instead of showing instead of accentuating the overall growth of the economy, you want to accentuate the changes in the economy, we need to scale this bar chart. So this is the scaled bar chart that we were talking about in a previous video. And to do this, we want to say, instead of just the sum, we want to say quick table calculation, percentage of total. Notice that this doesn't quite do what we want, and that's because we have to ask ourselves percentage of what total. And in this case, these numbers are percentage of the full GDP across all years. And instead of looking at full GDP across all years, we want to look at full GDP within a year. And so we don't want to look at the table across, we want to look at the table down. So to change this, we say, again, same menu, and then we say compute using table down. So I'll just do that again really quickly. Here like this. There are lots of ways that you can do these computations. We're going to be going through them over the course of the semester. But again, what we want to do is we want this percentage to be not of all years. We want to do percentage within a year. And so rather than looking across the visualization, we want to look down the visualization. Another way to think about it is, do you want to apply this computation row-wise or column-wise? And we want to do it column-wise. We want each column to be 100%. And so here, notice I no longer have any information about whether the economy is growing or shrinking. All I have is information about what proportion, what percentage the individual regions contribute to the overall GDP. So this is entirely a story about composition rather than overall growth. Which one of these is better for you is entirely up to which story you're trying to tell. So we have to have both of these things in our back pocket. So the other thing we can do here is, instead of having just the bars, because this is a time element, we can actually just kind of blend these bars together. And instead of having stacked bar, we can do stacked area. So again, if your dimension down here is a continuous numeric variable, you can just smush the things together, and there's no harm in it. It kind of smooths things out a little bit in a way that's maybe a little bit more visually appealing, but it's just a visual change. And we could do the same thing with the unscaled version too. It's entirely fine. So in fact, if I go back like this and then say scaled area, whoop, that should totally work. How interesting is that? Interesting. Oh, good. I was like, oh, there's nothing like game day, you know, like when you're recording the video, that's when things go wrong. Of course. But you can do these both for the scaled version and for the unscaled version. There's no harm in it either way. And again, it's just like a visual thing here. But the big difference you have to decide is, am I showing the scaled version or the unscaled version? That's the thing that really is a fundamental design decision with respect to what story you're trying to tell. So again, all of these are trying to show how variables are broken down according to across categories, a numeric variable across categories, regardless of whether we're using pie charts, histograms, or some flavor of stacked bar charts or area charts.